I was employed in the Arabian Gulf in the 1970s, and there I met some tribal Pathans from the northwest frontier of Pakistan bordering Afghanistan. These Pathans were reluctant to pose for photos because they thought that photos would extract or absorb some of their souls and energies through the camera and that it would weaken them. This idea of representation such as photos, drawings and statues having spiritual value dates back to 100,000 years ago, and it is suspected that even the Neanderthals had such beliefs. What we see here are some cave paintings dating back to over 40,000 years ago. Some scholars think that these paintings were made by shamans who withdrew into the caves for a spiritual experience. In addition, there are burial sites also which still tell of the beliefs in the after death. Such burial sites and paintings have been found all over the world and provide evidence that man believed in the spiritual world as apart from the material world as far back as 40,000 years ago. These cave paintings we see are mostly of hunting scenes. Scholars think that such drawings of animals held a part of the soul of the animal and would help in the hunt. What we see here is a hunting scene which takes an unexpected turn as the hunted buffalo turns the tables on the hunter and goes in through, and subsequently the hunter falls back dead. What is interesting about the drawing is the picture of the small bird below the man. Scholars think that this bird may represent the soul of the dead hunter. If so, this cave painting may be the earliest evidence we have of religion. We do not know of the exact time and place when humans first took to religion. However, research in evolutionary and archaeology shows credible evidence of religious ritualistic behavior from around the Middle Paleolithic area, which is about 45 to 200,000 years ago. Speculations and expressions on death and the afterlife form an integral part of religion. The earliest evidence for such expressions of religion are found at burial sites. The earliest known of such burial sites is a cave in Israel dating back to around 100,000 years ago. According to some studies, the retreat of humans from the Levant area to Africa some 60 to 80,000 years ago was a crucial period in Genesis and evolution of religions and associated disciplines such as spirituality and spiritualism. These two words, spirituality and spiritualism, sound similar and are often confused for each other, but there is a marked difference between the two. Spirituality is about an exploration into our inner self or soul in a philosophical way, whereas spiritualism is about an exploration into the supernatural world of gods, ghosts and miracles. Animism is a third concept which was another form of early religion. Animism assumes that all things, animals, plants, rocks, rivers, weather systems, human handiwork, and perhaps even birds are alive and have a material side as well as a spiritual side. Our brains are wired for both animism, or for all these animism, spirituality and spiritualism and associated concepts, and they come naturally to us as climbing trees comes naturally to monkeys. Just as our physical or material bodies are built of genes, our mental, psychic or spiritual world is built upon what are called memes. The word meme was first coined by Richard Dawkins in his bestseller The Selfish Gene. A meme is defined as an idea, behavior, concept or style that can be mimicked and spread from person to person in a culture and from one culture to another, often with the aim of conveying particular phenomena, themes, concept or meanings represented by the meme. Memes act as a unit for carrying ideas and concepts in the form of words, symbols, or practices that can be transmitted from one mind to another through writing, speech, gestures, rituals, or other replicable phenomena. Memes are analogous to genes in that they sprout, self-replicate, mutate, and evolve in response to cultural, social, and economic pressures. Just as the various species originated and mutated through genes, religions, politics, culture, and other factors which form the ideological side of life have their genesis, mutation, and evolution in various memes. Democracy, equality, God, sacrifice, incarnation, romance, chair, rebirth, original sin, retribution, tools are all memes or ideas which constitute the mental side of our existence. Just as our bodies are built mainly on genes, our thoughts are built mainly on memes. We shall now investigate the genesis and evolution of religious memes and the environment which provided these memes with the ideal growth inputs. The dynamics of the generation and mutation and evolution of religious memes are regulated and controlled by the following among other factors. Our sense of insecurity. 2. Our brain structure. 3. Our propensity to dream, as a consequence of which we live in natural world as well as in a dream world. Dreams have a profound effect on us than our real life, controlled by genes and laws of nature. Then the fourth factor that contributes to the generation of religion are drugs, narcotics, and other hallucinatory substances which stimulate the functions of our brain. Then fifth, our propensity to form patterns or cause-effect relationship even when there may not be any patterns or cause-effect relationship. The sixth factor that helps in the generation of religion is anthropomorphism, or our propensity to project our own nature onto animals, things, and supernatural beings of our dream world. This may be a result of animism, which we saw earlier, which assumes all things such as animals, things, and even weather components and words have both a material dimension as well as a spiritual dimension. Then the seventh factor that helps in the generation of religion is our propensity to spin stories and gossip. The eighth factor is our propensity to form mental associations. The ninth factor is our propensity to imitate others, especially our parents and elders. And the final factor is the parent syndrome. We will explain all this in detail here right away. Our innate fears and sense of insecurity. It is a fear of death that forms the basis of life. There would be no life without fear of death, which comes in many forms of mania and phobias. Just as our computers and mobile phones have a basic operating system, all living things have an operating system that is fear. There are stories of robots overcoming human beings. This is pure fiction. As long as we do not put fear and insecurity into robots, they will never challenge us. What is more, they would as readily walk into a train or a battle tank as fearlessly as they would into a bed of flowers. Now we'll see our brain structure. Our brains are both hardwired and softwired to accept such things as spirits and supernatural things and religions. This provides a fertile environment for the genesis and evolution of spiritual and religious memes. Scientists studying the relationship between the temporal lobe of epilepsy patients and their spiritual experiences first concluded that the temporal lobe was the only part of the brain involved in religious experiences. However, recent imaging studies have shown that many parts of the brain are activated during religious and spiritual experiences. Some scholars have suggested that religion is genetically hardwired into the human condition. One controversial proposal named the God gene hypothesis states that some variants of the specific gene, the VM82 gene, predisposes us to spirituality. Stephen J. Gould, the evolutionary biologist, suggests that our brains may have grown larger to enable group activities and social life, and this larger brain enabled reflection on the inevitability of personal morality. It is this fixation with personal morality that forms the foundation of all philosophy and its offshoot religion. That may be why philosophy and theology are often confused with each other. Yet another view is that behavior of people who participate in religion makes them feel better, and this improves their fitness, so that there is a genetic selection in favor of people who are willing to believe in religion. Now we will see our propensity to dream, which is an important factor in the generation of or genesis of religion. There are many animals other than we humans which dream, but we know so little about those animals and how their dreams influence them. However, studies and observations show that some animals exhibit behavior bordering on the proto-religious. Thus, elephants demonstrate rituals around their deceased bodies, which include long periods of silence and mourning at the point of death, and process of returning to grave sites and caressing the remains. Some evidence suggests that many species animals grieve death and loss. It is possible that such behavior is based on their dreams of their ancestors. As against the normal thinking in the real world, dreams involve out-of-the-box thinking, lateral thinking, thoughts involving associations, and so on. Scientists have been searching for long for a linear formula for benzene. A non-linear formula never occurred to them. Then in 1865, German chemist Kekule had a dream of a snake biting its own tail to form a circle. This dream led Kekule to consider a circular formula for benzene instead of a linear structure. It is this dream of a snake biting its own tail that led to the understanding of organic chemistry. Dreams have a profound influence on us. Consequently, we humans have two worlds, the ordinary world and where the laws of nature apply, and the dream world where we can fly around and do things in a supernatural or extra-natural way. Religious means such as life after death and spiritualism have their genesis in dreams. Dreams of the dead give rise to memes of ancestor worship and memes of ancestors watching over us to reward us for our good deeds and to chastise us for our antisocial deeds as they had in real life. There are these memes of supernatural things and spirits of the dead ancestors supervising and auditing our social behavior that enforce social morality. It may also have been this fixation with the supernatural beings parenting us that led to the origin of religions. This may also be why some say that there is no morality without religion. Psychotic or hallucinatory drugs and narcotics. Like our dreams, drugs and narcotics can whip up our imagination and build an illusional world of their own in our brains and influence the genesis and evolution of memes. Like dreams, drugs also stimulate out-of-the-box thinking, lateral thinking, and other outrageous associations. This has given rise to many works of arts as well as to the genesis and growth of many religious cults such as the Sufis. The sadhus of India also take or smoke drugs to enhance their religious experience. Soma or Homa, an inebriating drink, formed an essential ingredient of ancient Vedic sacrifices of India as well as in the Avestan rites of the Parsis. A view proposed by F.H. Previk is that human regeneration was product of an increase in dopaminergic functions in the human brain and a general intellectual expansion beginning around 80,000 years ago. Dopamine promotes an emphasis on distance, space and time, which is critical for the establishment of religious experience. Many of the hallucinated drugs can produce effects which substitute or complement the dopamine effect. Another factor that gives rise to the generation of religious means is our propensity to form patterns. The mental compulsion to form patterns or to find causal relationships in every situation we come across is a very important factor which has led to the genesis and evolution of gods and other supernatural agents. Forming patterns is like filling up the pieces of a jigsaw. Psychologists affirm that if we cannot form the complete pattern or cannot find even a piece of the jigsaw, we feel stressed out. Science takes hundreds or many years to fill out a pattern, and sometimes it may even be impossible for science to fill out the patterns, such as the case of the genesis of the universe. What is more, each discovery of science leads to more loose ends asking for explanations and clarifications. This is where memes of supernatural entities come in. These supernatural beings are completely amorphous without any shape or weight or even definitions. Consequently, just as the Joker, which can represent any card in a card game, these supernatural entities can fill any place in a pattern or jigsaw and give a temporary relief from the stress caused by patterns that cannot be filled up by rational evaluations. Such use of gods and spirits to explain causal effects which cannot be filled in by science is called the god of the gaps by atheists. Then there is anthropomorphism. Anthropomorphism, another of our adaptation to religion is anthropomorphism, an innate inclination to contribute emotions, intentions and other human traits to non-human entities. Fables such as those of the hare and the tortoise, cartoons such as Tom and Jerry, and stories of robots and extraterrestrial creatures subduing human beings are all anthropomorphic inclinations. Then there is a propensity to spin stories and gossip. In addition to our cerebral constitution, dreams, associations and anthropomorphic inclinations, we are storytellers by nature. So we spin and blend our natural world, our dream world, our capacity for associations and our anthropomorphic inclinations together to make fantastic stories which no other animal can make. Gossip and slander are some of the most significant outputs of our storytelling powers. Most of the media depend on such gossip and slander for their very existence. Then there is propensity to make mental associations. In his famous work, The Interpretation of Dreams, Freud speaks at length on the associations of ideas and words in our thinking process, on how similar sounding things or homonyms such as bow, B-O-W for bending down, B-O-W for as in bow and arrow, B-O-U-G-H for branch, like that, these homonyms. Then there are opposite things such as fire and water, then associated things such as cables and chains. See, all these are linked together in our thinking process and lead to slips of the tongues and outrageous dreams. This faculty of association may also have played a huge part in the genesis and evolution of religions and their concepts. The use of symbolism in religion is a universal phenomenon. Most, if not all, religions have images and symbols to represent supernatural beings and ideas which are difficult to portray directly in any other way. Consequently, supernatural ethereal beings which have no body are often anchored to pictures, statues and other discernible visible forms. Such association of art and religion, as evident in the fossil records, is indicative of a mind capable of religious thoughts. Art and symbolism demonstrates a capacity for abstract thought and imagination necessary to construct abstract religious means. Our propensity to imitate others, especially our parents and elders. Another of our human traits is to ape others, especially our parents and our heroes. It seems we are far ahead of apes themselves when it comes to aping others. Then there is the parent syndrome. Most, if not all, newborn animals and birds tend to follow the first animal they come across for protection. We are no different, and just as newborns trust all animals, we also trust our parents. Studies have shown that little children think that their parents are omnipotent and can protect them from anything and everything. They also think that their parents can see through walls and other barriers such as things closed up in a box. Later on, the children realize that their parents are very limited in providing them protection as well as in other abilities such as seeing through walls. But they are reluctant to wean themselves away from the ideal parent who is omnipotent. Consequently, they protect or anthropomorphize. They project or anthropomorphize this idea of an omnipotent parent onto an omnipotent God or supernatural being. This innate impression that parents are omnipotent and capable of protecting us leads to our imitating them, as by such imitation we become our own parents in a way. Just as many elements in nature play their part in the genesis and evolution of our genes and life, the above mentioned factors as well as other factors and their combination lead to the genesis and evolution of religions. We shall inquire into the genesis and evolution of religions in the next episode in detail.